All right, folks, I thought I'd put on this little video here to give you a little bit more in-depth look at what I was talking about. All that jibber jabber about behind the barn, behind the barn. Okay, this is what you got to understand, that we have our own lingo. And I'm going to kind of talk to you as you already know it. This is behind the barn. Pretty obvious because it is behind the barn. This area that you see here is completely for grazing. This area here is not split up into quarters or thirds. It's just opened wide. And they can usually spend about 3, 4, sometimes up to 5 days in here. Now we're going to start this buggy up and I'm going to take you on a ride. And I'm going to show you something that we did this past December. Actually, it was December going into January that we normally don't do. And that's because the cow yard was a pretty big mess at the time. So we wanted the cows and all the heifers to have their serenity. We fed them on a big portion of this behind the barn field. It's not something we chose to do because it really messed up a big area for pasture, but what are you going to do? This is behind the barn. Now, this is what we call kuthas. A lot of our property, whether we own it or not, is usually named off the closest homeowner. There used to be a trailer house on the other side of that woods line there. We're looking directly north right now. And their last name was Kuthas. Great people. So therefore, this has always been known as Kutha's property. Even though it's ours, that's the way we do things. All right, this beautiful field right here, which is very low lying, I will not be spreading fertilizer in here today. And I will not be spreading in here at all this week. This is an extremely wet, soupy piece of property that does extremely well with grass growth. Because it's so wet and soupy, we have not turned this over. I bet you this hasn't been turned over in 15 plus years. And I have no intentions of doing so right now. It continues to grow a great hay crop, and it serves tremendously as pasture land. At certain points of the year, this is always last, but we open this wide up. This is not split up into quarters or thirds either. This is wide open, and they're usually back here for 5, 6, and sometimes even 7 days. And it's amazing how much they mow it down. What we do is take a first crop cutting of hay off of here, which is very, very abundant. In fact, we do a lot of square baling back here as well. There's no such thing as a second crop back here. The second crop is the first grazing that takes place on here. That's going to be highly needed this year with the amount of extra cattle that are here, according to what we're used to dealing with. And if I had to talk tough right now, thinking of a way of splitting this field up would probably prove to be worth its weight in gold for a little extra longevity in pasturing. What is that going to take? It's going to take a whole bunch of those, a whole pile of those. They're usually white in color. They just got a point on the bottom. It's basically just it's a fence post. Easy in, easy out. And I don't think that we have a long enough, what I'm going to call a fabricated line to stretch this entire distance. I'm going to have to take a look at that. We'll see. It also doesn't hurt just to leave this damn thing open. Let them graze it all down. There's 2 grazings that take place back here. Usually sometime in August. And then at the very end of the year. I am going to spread this mix here. Like I said, this is pure pasture ground here. And the other thing we're going to do, now if you guys can see it, the North Hill split up into two sections. The first section, I don't know if you can see the cows, that's blockaded off. This next section here is also grazing, and that serves as about 3 to 4 days, if not better, on grazing as well. I'm going to hit that as well. We're not too concerned about this side of the hill. Whatever fertilizer I have left is going to go up there. I will not be covering the whole thing. We're not concerned about that. We hardly ever are every year. Whatever's left is going to go up there though. Give it a nice little shot. So anyway, explanations aren't the best, but I thought instead of talking about it all the time, I'd come back here and show you behind the barn. Let's see, we're engaged. Not quite PTO speed. I guess what I'll say is 2100. There's not really a need for that. So we'll go on a small ride here and I'll show you what we did to this behind the barn pasture and what happens when you're using it as a feedlot, so to speak. It's a fair amount of property here, so no harm, no foul. Serenity and comfort of the cattle kind of comes first if you can help it. I'm getting towards the end of this buggy. I should have looked in there before I started this. I did not, but a careful eye can tell that it keeps coming out. Now when I was younger, I didn't give a damn. It's a different story. Just keep going, who cares? Well, can't do that anymore. We all been there. Okay, so we're coming up on the beef lot, separated obviously by this fence. This is what was done to this pasture here with this December, January, which I really hate, but not a biggie. Coming out good. Alright folks, that's it. I'm going to finish off this little parcel here, and by God, it is time for lunch. Holy crap. That is a fact. And we'll catch up with you a little later today.